Well, the U.S. election is just 30 days away, but what about the risk of election fraud? Joining us now via Skype from the New York area is James O'Keefe, the boss of Project Veritas. Great to see you again, James.
Thank you, Ezra. Always great to be with a fellow patriot.
Well, thank you. You too. You guys go undercover a lot, and one of my favorite things about what you do is you take a camera and you interview people who normally wouldn't talk to the conservative press. You talk to Democrats, you talk to insiders, you get them speaking candidly, and then you show that in public. That's what you've done today, right?
That's exactly right. And coming on the heels of this Donald Trump hot mic interview, we think that not just private comments about boys talking to each other, we think that elected officials and powerful voting officials and people who are running our government, we need to find out what they're saying on the bus, or in the cocktail party, or behind closed doors. We need to see what people are really believing, what people are really saying, because it's the only way we're going to expose the truth and circumvent a corrupt media which is trying to cover up the truth.
Well, that's a great point. I mean, 10 or 20-year-old comments by Donald Trump of a personal nature off the record that don't touch on public policy, if they're fair game, surely what public officials say about public policy off the record is fair game too. Now, you have one of your undercover reporters who accosted a city election commissioner, the Democratic election commissioner for New York City, Alan Shulkin. Tell me a little bit about him. Is there a Republican and a Democrat election commissioner, or is he just appointed for the city as a whole by the mayor? How does it work? Who is this fella? I just want to set that up before we show the clips.
Absolutely. There's a board of elections in New York City, and there's 7 or 8 people on that board, and he's one of the individuals on the board. He is a Democrat. But what's remarkable about the video is that although he's a Democrat, Democrats are very much against instituting photo ID. They think that it's racist to ask a person of color to show a driver's license. Well, the interesting thing about New York City is that they require everyone to have ID. It is, in fact, the law to have ID. They give everyone ID cards. So this guy is almost like an unwitting whistleblower. Mm-hmm. He's not necessarily a bad guy, although he does have the power to change things. What's remarkable is that he's not willing to say in public what is so obviously the case. I mean, if the law in New York is to require a photo ID just to live there, why isn't it allowed to vote there? And he's making this point, and he says, but I can only say this to you. Of course, he doesn't know that the person filming him with a little button camera, now it's the #1 viral video on the internet.
Well, let's show people what the excitement is about. We've got 3 clips today. Here's the first one that I find very compelling, where Alan Shulkin, whose job it is to ensure the integrity of voting, describes in some detail just how voter fraud happens in his city. Let's take a look at that first clip.
I think there's a lot of voter fraud. Right. Like I say, people don't realize certain neighborhoods in particular, they bust people around to vote.
They do what?
They bust them around. They put them in a bus and they move from pole side to pole side.
Like what kind of neighborhood? Oh, like minority neighborhoods, like black neighborhoods and Hispanic neighborhoods?
And Chinese too.
Incredible. It sounds like he's observed it, or at least has a very great familiarity with it. And like you say, I don't think he's cheering for this. I think maybe he's even lamenting it, but he's certainly not doing anything about it, is he?
No, and because there are political reasons not to. It's not for pragmatic reasons, not for policy reasons that showing a photo ID. It's because they want the fraud. They want the fraud. They want that to happen. Otherwise, they would do something to stop it. And at the very end of the video, he says, "No, but I can't say this publicly." So he's become an unwitting whistleblower. It's in the print edition of the New York Post today. I think there's a larger issue here. We've talked about this, Ezra, before, that people are not. The media is able to get away with their lies, and the only way around it is through hidden camera, because you've got to be a way to expose the way people really are, what people really think. And the whole veneer is one giant manufactured lie. Yeah. And this guy is a Democrat in New York City. He's in the belly of the beast. He's the election commissioner, and he does not like the policy when he has the power to change it. It is incredibly damning, damning on the system, damning on the politicians, damning on what everyone knows to be true. And Ezra, this is the first of many shoes to drop. It does get much worse. We are releasing more footage tomorrow and the day after that. And every single day, we're going to release a hidden camera video until the election.
Incredible. Well, we'll certainly stay tuned. Of course, the website is Project Veritas. You can see the URL at the bottom of the screen, folks. I want to show the second clip from your release today. This is very interesting because, of course, you may have a federal or a national policy in terms of ID, but if a mayor in a city decides, especially a Democrat mayor, a radical mayor like Bill de Blasio gets in on the game, he can do an end run around any voter ID by just handing them out. Here, let's take a clip of Alan Shulkin talking about that.
Blasio just gave out ID cards.
He what?
He gave out ID cards to Blasio. You don't have, that's in lieu of a driver's license, that you can use it for anything. Well, they didn't vet the people to see who they really are. Anybody could go in there and say, I'm Joe Smith, I want an ID card. It's absurd. You're going to see a lot of fraud, not just voter fraud, all kinds of fraud.
That's incredible. So just anyone can say, hey, give me an ID. And Bill de Blasio, the Marxist mayor of New York, just gives anyone an ID. And as this fellow points out, it's not just electoral fraud. Who knows how much bank fraud or other fraud, even, I suppose even theoretically, a sex offender could get a new ID card from Bill de Blasio and create a new identity. The fact that this guy's listing this off so casually, it's incredible because he would never say these things in public, would he?
Never say them in public. We're showing people what people really believe, and we're showing the flaws in the system. And the funny thing is, the New York City actually went undercover in Brooklyn a few years back. The New York Post covered that, where they actually got offered dead people's ballots, dead people registered to vote. But never before have we had a Democratic election commissioner admit that they're bussing people around, which they certainly are doing, and voting in one race where they're not supposed to be voting, in one borough they're not supposed to be voting for certain state reps, certain congressional candidates. But again, this larger narrative is about the media is manufacturing consent right now. Mm-hmm. They are panicking because, Ezra, the media wants to have control over the voter. And if they lose control over the voter, if the will of the people is smarter than the media's ability to manufacture consent, then they start panicking. And that's what you're witnessing right now. You're witnessing the media panic. And the only way to destroy the media or defeat the media is to release content that shows the way things really are. And guess what, America and Canada? In New York City, the people who govern the city don't even like their own policies. They think it's a fraud. And that's very important. And I can't wait to see what they say when we drop our next video.
Incredible. Now, I want to show one more clip from your work, James. So the funny thing is, this will be shocking to Americans. James, I got to tell you, it's not shocking to us in Canada. I'm talking about voting with a Islamic face covering called a burqa or a hijab. Take a listen to this.
Muslims, yeah, especially like all those burqas, like someone could claim, oh, it's my religion, but then you don't know if they're pretending or not.
Exactly. Your vote isn't really counting because they can go in there with a burqa on and you don't know if they're a voter.
You know what?
Yes. Your vote gets discounted because they come in with a burqa on it and they can vote. People think, it's a liberal thing to do, but I take my vote seriously. People coming in negating my vote by voting for the other candidate when they're not even registered voters.
We're way ahead of you on that, Jim. Not only can you wear a burqa to vote, you can wear a burqa in citizenship court in this country. So cast your eyes north of the border to see the disaster unfolding here in terms of electoral fraud. Last word to you, James. Project Veritas, we've had you on the show before on a range of subjects. I want to get back to your theme today, which is the media is actually a hoax media, a cover-up media. I believe that. Let me just throw one thing at you. Today I see Brian Stelter of CNN breathlessly talking about how NBC is furiously going back through years and years of episodes of The Apprentice with Donald Trump, trying to find anything embarrassing, any outtakes, any bloopers where he appears to be rude or sexual. And I'm just thinking to myself, you're digging for a needle in the haystack. They'll probably find something, by the way, where we just had this massive dump of Hillary Clinton's internal party and Clinton Foundation emails, which show incredible things, policy giveaways to the highest bidder, foreign affairs bungling, betrayals, and I'd say even fraud. It's right out there. but CNN and NBC would rather dig up some titillating trivia from a reality show moment than the facts that are right out there. To me, that's part of this media story too, isn't it?
It is this story. Regardless of what you think about the situation, it is the story because, I'm not saying anything else anybody hasn't said, but I mean, in the Oval Office in the White House, former President Bill Clinton actually sexually assaulted, inserted a cigar into a woman's private area, and we were told not to care about that. And you know what? I hate bringing it up, but the media brought it up. The media has made it a central issue. They have CNN, MSNBC, Fox News, ABC, CBS. You can't go anywhere without listening to some private hot mic video of two men talking about women and what they want to do to them, as if that's the most important issue facing our country. And the reason why it affects me is because I do hidden camera videos all the time. I've got 12 full-time journalists undercover in fundraisers right now, capturing moments. And the media has said, I'm a criminal for doing it in California. Well, guess what? That recording was done in a two-party consent state. But they don't care about that. David Polk wins a journalism prize for filming in Mitt Romney. So we're told to suddenly care about this stuff when it's the substance that they care about. And it's such hypocrisy, and people are outraged. I mean, Americans get it, but they don't govern the corporations, the media corporations. So what you see is the will of the people is being usurped by a media which is a corporate media bought and paid for by special interests. And the only solution, and I'm seeing it right now, Ezra, I mean, right now this video is the #1 trending video on the internet. People are desperate for someone to counteract forces of the media. It's so hypocritical. Yeah. And this is coming from someone who I think what Trump said was reprehensible. I think is disgusting. But I don't care because it's a greater good being served by exposing the media's hypocrisy. And that's what we're doing. Content is king. We have to do the hidden camera videos exposing what the politicians and what the media people believe.
There you have it. James O'Keefe, ProjectVeritas.com. Frankly, you, sir, have done more investigative journalism, explosive journalism, Pulitzer Prize winning journalism that was never awarded a Pulitzer Prize. If you were on the left, you would be the most decorated journalist since Woodward and Bernstein. But because you're on the right, your scoops and investigations are, as you say, they are defamed at best and ignored. Great to see you. We'll keep spreading the word. You keep up your good work, James.
It's a lot more fun to be the underdog.
Isn't that the truth? Thanks for watching. Click here to never miss a Rebel update. Want even more of the Rebel? Well, click here to become a premium member.